Hello everyone, this is Shawn from Ozark Family Homestead. It's kind of a cold, wet day here in the Ozarks, and thought it might be a good day to address a question that a couple of you have and something you may be kind of interested in. And that is that some of you, when we've had videos out here near the summer kitchen, have noticed something that's kind of peculiar for most people's property, and that is behind me here, a headstone. So people have asked, is that really a headstone? Is there someone buried on your property? Well, I'm going to tell the story today about this person and just kind of take you through a little bit of history lesson of events leading to this headstone being on our property. And the two things that we're going to need to talk about is the 1918 influenza outbreak, also known as the Spanish flu outbreak, and the building of Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma, and how these two things resulted in this headstone. So stick around, and I hope you enjoy this story. Well, I'm up here on our new rear deck on our summer kitchen, and we'll start off by talking about the year 1918. 1918 was a rough year for the entire world. You had a world war raging in Europe, and you know, it's estimated that maybe as many as 9 to 10 million people were killed in the First World War, but far more people were killed worldwide by an influenza outbreak. This was sometimes nicknamed the Spanish flu. You may have heard of this in history. There's all kinds of things you can look this up. It's tens of millions of people died worldwide during this influenza outbreak in 1918. And it hit particularly hard in Oklahoma because by some historic records that it believes that the Spanish flu hit the United States first at an army base in Kansas, and it quickly spread through Kansas and Oklahoma and through the rest of the country. It's really difficult to know how many people died of that flu outbreak. It's considered to be the worst pandemic in the history of the world by some accounts. One person that we believe probably lost her life was an 18-year-old girl named Bertha. Talk a little bit more about her later. This creek that runs through our property has always been one of my favorite places, and I think it's an appropriate setting to continue this story. Well, let's fast forward from 1918 and the flu outbreak to the 1960s. In the 1960s, in eastern Oklahoma, a dam had been built, what became Lake Eufaula. It dammed in the North Canadian and South Canadian rivers and created what became the largest lake in the state of Oklahoma. About 200,000 acres with a 600-mile shoreline. This is a very large lake to be a man-made lake in the interior of the United States. Now, when that lake was built, there were towns, including the town that my dad grew up in, that went underwater. They had to move the town. And there were also many cemeteries that went underwater. Now, originally, it was told that all these cemeteries, everybody would be exhumed and put into new cemeteries. And that did happen to many folks, especially if you had family in the area that would take care of that or would advocate for you. But it became known that a lot of people ended up being covered up by the lake, that many of the bodies were never moved. And there's really no telling how many graves to this day are at the bottom of Lake Eufaula. Now, when Lake Eufaula was built, different towns were moved. Some areas were just simply flooded. Other areas were kind of dug out a little bit. It's a very rocky area, so a lot of really large rocks pushed around, moved around, put up in different piles. And years after that lake was put in, my grandfather, who owned a general store, had a gas station, was putting in some new tanks underground and hired like a dump truck to come in and bring in loads of dirt and rocks. And after that, that dirt and those rocks had been delivered, he was going through and kind of cleaning everything up and noticed that one of the stones kind of looked like a gravestone, the way that it was shaped. So he cleaned it up, and sure enough, there was inscriptions on it. It was an old gravestone from 1918. Of course, that's the same year of the flu pandemic that had struck that area. It was an 18-year-old girl. Her name was Berthy. I'm not going to give the last name. I'm just going to choose not to do that. She was born in October of 1900 and died 2 days after her birthday in 1918. And it also said that she was married to a man named John. Now, this would have been the early 1980s. And we didn't know of any families with that name in the area. And it was always kind of a mystery, who was this 18-year-old girl? Well, as years went on, and about 20-25 years ago, as the internet began to come about, and there were websites, genealogy type websites, I was really enthusiastic that we would maybe solve the mystery of who Berthy was. Unfortunately, after all these years, we were never able to find any record of her. But it makes sense. She was only 18 years old. Obviously, at that age, she had not been married long. We have no idea what her maiden name would have been. The only United States Census that would have ever recorded her would have been in 1910, when she was probably 9 years old, before her birthday. And again, without knowing the maiden name, and a lot of people wasn't even caught by the census back then anyway. So there has never been any ability to find out more about her, and I don't really think there ever can be. I think she was lost to history. But we had her gravestone. And that gravestone has been passed down to me, and I've had it put in a spot on our property near our home as a memorial to Berthy, that even though we don't know really many details of her life, that she's not 100% forgotten. So now you know the story of the stone that's on our property. No, there's not a body actually buried in our yard. Berthy's remains, I'm sure, have long since returned to the earth somewhere under Lake Eufaula. But she does have a memorial here so that she's not completely forgotten to history. And I don't know, when I see it, I know some people would be disturbed by having a stone. I'm not at all. She was an 18-year-old girl, and she had a life, and it was cut short. And if this is just some little way that we can honor this girl, then I'm glad to know that it's here. I know this video is it's pretty different than most of our videos. It's not as exciting as a grocery haul, but I appreciate you listening to the story. And again, if you haven't done so, please subscribe if you like our channel. Hit the thumbs up. And maybe I'll tell some more stories that some of you may find interesting I like to tell stories, and I just really appreciate being able to share this with you. Till next time, thank you for watching Ozark Family Homestead.
Thanks for watching Ozark